Hello and welcome to the Africa Fashion Futures podcast. On this research podcast series, we'll be sharing insights and expertise on the fascinating world of African fashion. You'll hear from academics and industry experts and learn about the opportunities and innovations that they see in African fashion and the work of African designers. My name is Dr Lauren England and I'm a lecturer in creative economies at King's College London. I will be your podcast host for this episode. I've been working with my colleagues Dr Eka Ikpe, Director of the African Leadership Centre, and Roberta Communion, Professor of Creative Economies, researching African fashion and creative economy development in Africa since 2019. This podcast series is supported by the African Leadership Centre, the Department of Culture, Media and Creative Industries, and a global engagement partnership from King's College London. This episode is an interview with Chief Dr Nike Davies-Okundaye, recorded in November 2023 at the Nike Art Centre in Lagos, Nigeria. Chief Dr Nike is an internationally renowned artist specialising in Adire textile. She's also the founder of the Nike Art Foundation, a world-renowned institution for artistic and craftsmanship education. In this podcast, we'll be diving into her wealth of knowledge of both traditional and contemporary production processes for Adire. Chief Dr Nike also has a passion for sustainability and an incredible drive to support and empower others, particularly women. So we'll be exploring how she approaches this in her work as well. To start us off, could you tell us about how you're approaching the preservation of Adire heritage and what this means to you as an artist?
Adire textile is passed on from one generation to another generation. My great-grandmother is a textile. I'm a fifth generation textile from my own family. And when you are born, they train you. The first training you get is what your parents do. And that is how I was trained into handwoven, how to do Adire too, which is called Adire. Adire is the name of Nigerian textile that is all over Nigeria, not only Yoruba. The Hausa have a dyeing pit with tie and dye. The Abeokuta, they have stencil with Adire, which is paste. It's organic. Then the Western part here, we are talking about Osogbo, Ibadan, Kogi, all of them. They do Adire, Benue do Adire. So this Adire is passed on from one generation to another generation. And when the work is dying off, that is why I decide to have a center. So where I can be training some of the women who are still like me, who have no job and who have no education. But now, I'm not only training the people who have no job, I'm training different universities who come from 36 states in Nigeria. So, Adire is passed on one generation to another generation, but it's our heritage. It's the cloth that brings people together. It's the cloth you use as symbols to communicate. Ènìyàn lásán mi. People are my fabric. Who are those people? The closest person to you. They use them to welcome the queen. In 1946, they make one Adire called Oloba. That represents the king and the queen. And they make another one that represents Jubilee when we are celebrating our independence in 1960. So, but Adire has been on since I grew up seeing Adire, but my great-grandmother lived like 96, and she told me she also learned from her own great-grandmother and grandmother. So Adire has been dying off in the 70s. So my job is to bring it back, and because it's organic, because the color is natural, a lot of people, they don't want it. They name the color of our fabric. Oh, this is natural color. It's going to run. It's going to do this. Just because they don't want people to be wearing it anymore. But with the effort of going to America, coming back, going to UK, coming back, then I see how they preserve their own textile there. Then I said, as far as I'm alive, I'm going to preserve Adire. Adire.
Thank you so much. You mentioned that this is very much an intergenerational practice for you. Could you tell us a bit more about the people who've inspired you along the way and also particularly your motivation for starting the textile centres?
Yes, a lot of people from my own background, which is from my village. So I have about 265 women, which I train back into the Adire. But some of them already, they are weavers. So in those days, we weave our fabric. Then after we weave the fabric, we now use it for tie and dye, which you will be seeing some. We are going to show you all those type of technique. So those women are now training other people. When we train you, you train others. That is why I have 4 centers in Nigeria. The first one is in Osogbo, 1967. I opened it in my bedroom, and I call it African Shop number 1, an African Workshop number 1. Then from there, I moved to Station Road in Osogbo.
For someone who isn't very familiar with the process, could you describe the practice and process of making Adire and the type of equipment that you would need?
So then when people do Adire, they will carry it to Idisheke under the tree. Is where the market of Adire is. People go to Osogbo to buy the textile. But those women who are doing every family house in Osogbo, by then, they have almost 99 family houses. All of them have indigo pit. And the indigo in the Yoruba society is inside the pot, while the one in the north is inside the well. So the one from the eastern Nigeria, a lot of them put it in the drum, inside the drum. So they can throw it away when they run out of, when the color run out. The vegetable dye we are using in Yoruba is called elu. And this elu, we pound it. When we pound it, we mold it into a ball. 125 ball make 180 liter of water. Then we also make alkali. The alkali come from the cocoa skin. Cocoa, you know cocoa? Where you get your chocolate. So we burn the skin to get the ash. We also burn the pod of cocoa to get the ash. And you cannot use kerosene or anything to light it. You have to put real charcoal fire. Then you blow it until everything burns into ash. You now put, if you want to use basket, you put fabric inside the basket. You now put these ashes. And then you put your 80 liter of water on top of almost 20, a ton of cement is 1 ton is 20 bags. When you want to filter, you have to filter at least half a ton, which is 10 bags of ashes. So you will have about 6 ashes basket together. So this one, when you take the water from this one, you put it on the other one. So it gets thicker and thicker and thicker. And that is what they are using for black soap too. That water from the ashes of the cocoa. So nothing is thrown away. So they are all useful and they are all organic. And this vegetable dye we call indigo, elu, you now put it inside the pot. You let the sun heat it for 7 days. When the sun heats it for 7 days, so you stir it every day, 3 hours. So if you like, you can do 3 times a day, 1 hour, you will stirring it. So after 7 days, the color will come out blue. But the sun has something to do with it. When I do the indigo in London, they have to give me electric blanket. Electric blanket is what I use to cover the pot. We have Adire Eleko, which is hand painted with chicken's feather. We have Adire Alabere, hand stitch with raffia. We have Adire Eleso, corn or millet tie. We have Adire Oni pattern, which is stencil with paste, which is our own local cassava food, our daily food is what we use. Everything is organic. You take something from the earth and put it back into the earth without any chemical. And that is why this cloth is very, very important. It's indigenous to us. It's our heritage, and we have to keep it.
So you've emphasised natural product fibre and dyes. Could you expand a bit on how these traditional practices are supporting environmentally sustainable production and how you're also bringing this into your own work? As I understand you've been working with raffia recently.
The raffia is part of our fiber. You know, in Congo, they use raffia to make cloth, and that cloth they use it for festival, which is called Kuba cloth. In Kenya, they use banana fiber to make fabric. So this raffia grow in Nigeria is called Iko in Yoruba. So this raffia, nobody is using it to do anything, but people will import raffia from overseas. Then I said, we have this raffia, let's show them how they can use it. The Hausa people use it for table mat. They will stitch something for table mat. Then they also use it for boxes, like you can put your fabric. Then they use it for baskets that you can put cloth inside. So then I was thinking, oh, this basket will be good to make a skirt. So tomorrow I will bring the basket that I remove and we turn it. I have some upstairs if you want to look. So I was now saying, what can I do? I should bring this raffia back. So I have a girl that I'm working with. Her name is called Eki. So she has really worked with me, and her village people in the eastern Nigeria, they produce raffia. So she's now helping those village people so they can get enough money to sustain themselves instead of waiting for government, because not everybody will get a collar job. So that is how I start. I said, let me use this raffia to show the younger people. And then even the energy and the sustain something. You will see the plastic is all over in Nigeria. In the gutter, it plus it everywhere. Then I said, we can make something from this trash and turn it to treasure. This waste, we can turn it to wealth. That is why we are now trying to do energy sustainable by using all this trash. So I use pure water sachet, the one they throw away. I use it to make a dress and pants, and which you will be seeing. Then the raffia, the water in Lagos here, they have a lot of grain, and that grain grow like weed, and it closing sometimes it cause flood. So we now get some women, they will take it and pound it. We get the rope out of it, and that rope we use it for killing. We use it to make a standing for pot. We use it to do a lot of, so just to turn the waste to wealth and turn it trash to treasure.
That's really fantastic to hear how these indigenous materials and practices are being used so creatively now. Thank you. If we can go back to your work supporting and empowering women, could you tell us a bit more about how you've engaged with this type of work internationally as well as here in Nigeria?
Yes, the first engagement I went to do, teaching indigo, is in Italy. So the Caritas, Intercultural, and the Shiva, they were looking for a way to change those Nigerian prostitutes in Torino. They have 5,000 Nigerian prostitutes in Torino alone. And they now say, Nigerian women always work with their hand, they are market women. How can, when they deport those prostitutes, they are back to Italy the second day. So they now said, okay, what we do, they go on internet and they saw my name and they see that I have 4 centers in Nigeria. Then they approach me if I can come. When I went there, I told them I cannot do the job alone. I have some people I have trained. That is how we start. That is a big project. We use this textile to change 3,000. So we are now teaching them. It's a process of 6 years. I was going and coming, and I will place you for 2 months. Then you come back. Another one will go, because those are the people I have trained. So after that, they are now they buy them computer, which we don't have. Now social media has made everything beautiful. So they buy them computer, they now start printing the fabric. And that is how you see some of Adire printed now. Not only the People who want to buy original, people who have no money, they can buy original. And 3,000 of them are now printing, and they have their own life now. They are married, they are happy. When somebody wants to do a film on them recently, they said, we don't want to know our past. We are now happy. I still have one of my cousins who is a teacher. He's still there. So they said, we are happy now, we have our job. Because I don't do this job alone. I call the wife of the governor to help, to follow me, so he can talk to them as a first lady. And then we start the teaching. So that is my biggest project. But I now say that if this thing, my first husband, we are 15 wives, going to America in 1974, teaching the handwoven and the Adire in the state of Maine. And whom are we teaching? We are teaching the African America, their own direct background, which is the craft. But 10 of us from Africa, from 54 countries in Africa. So I was the only female. So after teaching, I see that they are all happy. And both men and women are learning this job. Then when I come back, I told my co-wife, I said, there is a place where if you have your handwork, you can make a living, and you don't need, all of us did not need to depend on one man to give us food. He said, take me there. I said, okay, there is a. So I started teaching them. So if they want one person in Canada, because they were now inviting us in different countries to come and teach the textile. That is how all of us now get our independence, and we are free, using our textile as freedom. And that is how, when I left, the 14 of them followed me.
This is an amazing story. You can really see how much empowering women and promoting women's independence is key to so many strands of your work, but also your own personal experience. So knowing how powerful it can be, what wider support do you think that the textile industry in Nigeria and women working in this industry need?
Yes, I know women still need support of small loan, soft loan that will give them opportunity to be able to buy good material to do their good work. Like textile we are using, Nigeria have no textile industry anymore. We are depending on the other foreign country before we can get the good textile. So if they get soft loan, they will be able to produce good handwork. Even though we are doing this Adire, we have to, it is time consuming because you weave your cloth before you now do the hand painted on it. So to do the weaving is taking more than 10 days. That is the indigenous one. I call it wearable art. So, but if we can get support from the government, can start to open the textile industry, there is a lot of them that has spark up. Ado, Ariwa, all of them has spark up. Nigeria grew a lot of cotton before. We need them to come back. We need people to come and invest in textile industry. So it will make it easy, because both men and women are now doing Adire, which is a great achievement for me in my own lifetime. I'm so happy. And I thank you people who really focus on using Adire and also focusing to show people that their own cloth is good. Continue to do your fabric. We will be buying it and be putting it on runway. And the story line will not die off. We also need somebody to write a book on Adire, which I know maybe the Ford Foundation can do, or if somebody gets somebody who can write, we will be happy and honored. So the children can have it in their curriculum from age of 6. They will know what our textile means. Because now when you talk, they just talk about Ankara. They don't talk about Nusigbede. They don't talk about tie and dye. They just talk about Ankara. Ankara name come from Ghana, and the Dutch, when they do the printing in Manchester and Dutch, they took it to Ghana by then. And Ghana get their independence before us. So they are now telling them that this cloth will bring from Accra, Ghana. That is how the name Ankara starts. But the name of our own cloth is called Adire.
And what do you think are the key drivers of change in the ways in which textile work is being done now in Nigeria?
What I see that is changing everything is education. So education has made everything easy for women. In those days, a woman is just, when you do this work, you are not even allowed to. It's taking them 3 months. The work that will take you 2 weeks, because you do all the housework and everything. But now you don't need to, you can be on your computer and you can design something on your computer, and then you can send it to the print and they will print it out. So we thank you youth who go to school and have education. Education is the key. Without education, we will not even know how to use this camera. Me, I don't know how to use camera. I don't have more than primary 6. But with the help of education, the people who are using textile, they can develop more, they can do it with machine, they can do it with printing. And we people who like to use indigenous work, we continue to use indigenous work. So the education has changed a lot, and the social media has changed it. And we thank you people. We thank youth, because Nigeria and the world belong to the youth. You people have to carry on.
I understand in terms of developing a market in Nigeria, both historically and today, there's been some reliance on imported fabrics. How would you describe the relationship between the imported fabric and the domestically produced fabric?
In those days, the Guinea brocade they are using is imported from India. Before Nigeria have their own textile industry. So they bring this velvet, they bring silk. We have one silk which they call jojo. So they bring them from overseas. But when Nigeria started their own textile industry, we are using made in Nigeria. But after many years, all this industry died off, and because of lack of no maintenance. So now, when people want to buy textile now, they will say, oh, this printed one is from China. Hey, let China, who live in Nigeria, when we don't have our own textile industry, they have to print. And we want house girl, house help. Everybody, even security, we want everybody to be wearing Adire. And the only way to wear Adire is for them to have the local one, which are printed. But in those days, when you are coming from US, you come with boat. Now, when you are coming from US, you come with plane. The same thing with the textile industry has to move forward. The textile of Ghana Kente, is after they started printing that the Kente is popular all over the world. We want our Adire to be popular all over the world, and people who want to buy original will still come to buy original. So we still want to be selling the indigenous, but people will be able to get the real money for their work, because this is a work that is taking more than 3 to 4 weeks, and it's not ordinary craft anymore.
So you can see that you really want it to be accessible to everyone in Nigeria. And I suppose one way of achieving that is to build international recognition, build a market, and really value this craft as well. And you mentioned you want it to be made in Nigeria. What does that label mean to you?
We like to have the made in Nigeria. The label means a lot, because anything produced in Nigeria should be put made in Nigeria. But sometimes when the people see made in Nigeria, they don't want to buy it. We went to the president, Obasanjo. They pick 4 of us. They pick me for textile. They pick somebody from the eastern Nigeria for shoe, leather shoe. But Nigeria produced the best leather. But if you now say this leather is made in Kano, they will not buy it, because they are brainwashed that we want to buy the Nike shoe. We don't want to buy made in Nigeria. So we now went to tell Obasanjo, our former president. We said, when we put our label, made in Nigeria, they don't buy it. But if they now put made in Italy, he said, if they will buy made in Italy, it's made in Nigeria, put made in Italy there so you can make your money. So we now said, okay, but we still want the name of our country, because textile and all the work of creativity is like ambassador. It's like our own gold to the country. That is why they need more people to be printing Adire, so it can be globally all over the world. Because when people who want to buy original, we always, they call it vintage. So those people who want to buy the vintage, we always source for it. But for it to be globally, the youth has to be printing more Adire. So then they can be selling to Italy, to different countries. That is the only way it can be globally. You cannot stay in Nigeria alone. You need the internet work. You need to go, FT? All this, you have to put them there and say, this is our Nigeria textile. That is how I want Adire to be popular. So they will say Adire textile, Nigeria. So Kente textile, Ghana. So all the Kuba cloth come from Congo, banana cloth. So all this fabric, an African artist coming into fashion. So 55 countries in Africa. So we have something to be proud of, our textile.
Thank you so much, Chief Dr. Nike. It has been a real honour to speak with you and to learn about your work. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Africa Fashion Futures podcast with our special guest, Chief Dr. Nike Davies-Okundaye. You can find out more about her amazing work in textiles and education via the website for the Nike Art Foundation, which is linked in the show notes. We were delighted to also feature Chief Dr. Nike in our short documentary film, Creative Women in Lagos, and we really encourage you to check this out as well. It's available on YouTube and you'll find a link in the show notes. Thank you for listening, and we hope you'll join us again for another episode of the Africa Fashion Futures podcast.